This episode's brought to you by our great sponsors of the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banner podcast, starting with Max BP, the small ball pitching machine to improve your hand-eye coordination and reaction times while providing an unmatched amount of reps. Max BP has 5 different velocities for fastballs, as well as right-hand and left-hand curveballs. They also have the Pro Machine with additional velocities, right-hand, left-hand curves, sliders, and cutters, as well as a rapid-fire setting for defensive drills. Go check them out at maxbp.com. Also, Safeguard out of the Tri-Cities. Go check them out, as they have provided all of the great gear for the Fungo Banner since day one. Go check out Safeguard. And Top Tier Sports, if you're looking for some summer tournaments still, go check them out all over the Pacific Northwest. I even hear they might even have some basketball tournaments here in Ellensburg. Go check out devobats.com for all your wood bat needs out of the Tri-Cities. And if you need your coach's fungos, they are the company to go see. And new to the podcast, AstroTurf. AstroTurf's Diamond League Series is now the official synthetic turf of Major League Baseball, trusted to perform at all most elite level of the sport and loved by everyone. Go check them out if you're looking to renovate your facility.
Being a Northwest guy is you're raising a batting cage, you're raising in your facility, you're taking ground balls off of, you know how to work in limited space.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, and I know I'm biased because I'm a Northwest guy, but I will take a Northwest guy over somebody from another area any day of the week because I just think they're tougher. I just think they're tougher guys.
I think that's one of the best things about baseball is it still is a way that you can really develop toughness and develop, loyalty and all those kinds of things that we want out of young men in particular.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banter podcast, where we highlight all of the great coaches of the Pacific Northwest. Now, here are your hosts, Eric Sorensen, Jason Jarrett, and Kelly Gow.
Hey, welcome back. Fungo Banner listeners, coaches, players, families, fans, anybody that listens to the podcast, welcome back, and thank you for listening to another episode of your Pacific Northwest Fungo Banner podcast. Eric Sorensen here. Everybody's going to come back and join us for part 2 as we are excited to wrap up our episode with Terry Agnew, Hall of Fame coach. He coached high school baseball at Central Kitsap and Woodinville High School for many, many years. Pretty excited about part 2. Part 1 was amazing, and part 2 is a lot of storytelling, some really great fun stories, not to mention a bunch of listener questions. So thank you, listeners. If you're new to the podcast, go follow all of our social media accounts, because we will be announcing when we are recording each episode and doing it different this year. Each episode we record will be live on our YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So go follow those accounts. And we want to wrap up every episode with a listener Q&A. So the Q&A was off the hook this year, or for this episode. It was pretty awesome. Not to mention, we had a special guest drop in, Coach Agnew's son, Coach Agnew, Kevin Agnew, for a fun little storytelling session at the very end. So go check them out. Like I said, we do everything live now, but we will post all the episodes every Wednesday, or we're posting this on a Tuesday, but in the middle of the week in part 1, part 2, as we always do. So thank you so much for coaches for joining us. Pretty excited about it. Get into next week's episode in just a second. But go check us out. We also are excited to finally announce the link is live. Hotel registration is live for the Washington State Baseball Coaches Association coaching clinic here in Ellensburg. Again, this will be our 4th year of doing this. We're excited. We're excited to have everybody come to the clinic. Get signed up as soon as you can so we can get this thing rolling, get some more planning. We're going to start announcing all the speakers here in the next week or so. And I know that everybody's been there in the past, can say how much fun it is. We have great speakers, but not to mention the after-hour coach talk that we have at the social and beforehand. It's just so much fun for the community of baseball. It's put on by high school coaches, youth coaches, travel ball, neighboring states. Come to the clinic. We want everybody. We're here to grow the game of baseball, and this is just a 2-day clinic that we can do that and grow all of our circle and get to know everybody. So high school coaches clinic, but open up to specifically, youth coaches, anybody, all are welcome to our clinic. So go check them out. If you're listening to this was released on December 9th. We'll be live again on December 10th with Coach Aaron Vaughn from Wenatchee Valley Community College. So tomorrow night, about 8 o'clock, we'll be live on all of our socials. Go check him out, and we'll release his episodes the following week. for the Fungo Banner podcast. So enjoy this. Please follow us, shoot us some messages, tell us what you like about our podcast. We'd like to hear about that, things that we can improve on. Go ahead and leave us some ratings on Apple, Spotify, all those things you can. That just helps us grow it. More people, getting more people's ears and everything. So, okay, that's enough for me. Let's go ahead and bring on Coach Agnew with part 2 of our episode.
We'll talk about some of the seasons, like, what, kind of reflecting back. I'm sure you have a chance to reflect, but, what are some years that stand out or some moments that stand out for you and in the time there as you kind of tied a bow on your career?
Yeah. Well, and again, when I first got there, we had a class, a group of kids that came in as sophomores, and those guys, there were kids on that team because we had a lot of football. That was the best thing, is when I had a baseball team that was made up of a bunch of football guys, and that was a lot of fun. And that first group that they came in 90, I think they were there. That was their first year, because that was my first year up there, and we had kids that played 3 years of high school sports and never had anybody but me as their coach, because they played football for me, they played spring baseball for me, and they played summer baseball for me. They didn't, unless they played basketball, or wrestled, they didn't have another coach. So that particular group, I mean, I still see a lot of those guys that were in that class. So that was really a fun group, and we were really good. And we had a bad Kingco final and lost a game that we never should have lost. One of those things where you lose to a team that you'd already beaten twice during the regular season, and they had one really good pitcher, and he pitched really well in that game, and I think we lost 2-1 in that game. So that was an awesome group. I really liked those guys a lot. And then we had, some time. We got a little bit further along, and then that class that Marcus Tuiasosopo, his class came through, and that was another awesome class. And we had Marcus and Brian Kurtzen and Pat Conniff, he didn't play baseball. He played freshman year and he hurt his shoulder, and his sophomore year in football, and had to have labrum surgery, and they tightened it so much so it wouldn't come out again. He couldn't throw. So he just stuck with football, and he went on to play at the U, and he was a great player. But that particular group was another one that was just so much fun to coach, and they competed really hard. And that team, Kelly, that you were on, was another team that was really good. And Kevin had a group that team, his senior year, we won the state tournament, and that team was, that was a real mix of sophomores, juniors, and seniors that played on that. And then we had another group. I don't know, Shay Donlin, does that name ring a bell? Mm-hmm. Shay's class was another group. They came through when Shay's group was 14. They won the Junior Legion state tournament, and the parents were all trying to decide what they were going to do, because I wasn't coaching summer baseball. Alan and I took some time off at that point, and they came back and they wanted to know if we would come back and coach these guys. And they finally convinced us to do it. And we coached those guys in the summers, for most of them, for 3 summers. Some of the better ones, like Shay, we encouraged him to go play at a higher level, because it was important for him to get better. And but we won two Junior Legion state tournaments with that group, and we never had a lot of success in the Kingco tournament with them, but we were always in it, and figured out a way to play really poorly at the wrong time. But that was a really good group, and that I was gonna retire after those guys left. And we had a guy in that team that was kind of an odd guy, that I was, one of those guys that you always seemed to be butting heads with him because he had a better way to do it. And when I was talking about not coming back, and Dillman told the players I probably wasn't going to come back, he came to me and he says, Coach, he says, you really need to stay and coach. He said, if you hadn't been the coach here, I'd have quit baseball a long time ago. He says, but you didn't take my crap and you didn't allow me to do the things that I thought were the things I should be doing. He says, and you need to come back because the players need you. Because I was at the point at that because I started out coaching and I was like their big brother, age wise. I mean, got my head job at CK when I was 21. So I was really close in age to those guys. And then I went from being their big brother to their dad to, at the end, it was like their grandpa. And it was like, there's kind of a big gap here. I mean, I may not have anything that's valuable to these guys to teach them anymore. And when he came back and said, no, you need to come back and coach, I went back and coached for another 2 years after that. And then the district told me I had to, if I was going to continue to be the AD, I had to quit coaching. And since I spent my entire AD career fighting for coaches in building, it didn't make any sense to me to, retire and leave so that I could coach. And it would make much more sense to stay as the athletic director and get out of coaching. So that's how I ended up.
Yeah, that you see that change a lot too, right? I mean, you don't see a whole lot of ADs as coaches anymore, and again, it's politics plays into it, but it's kind of
and it's really it's in my opinion, it's really, really, to use the excuse you don't want your athletic director to be coaching because he'll favor his teams. You can't do that. I mean, if I tried to give the baseball program a $10,000 budget and I'm only going to give softball $4,000 budget, that wouldn't go over very well. And if I gave the boys basketball more money than the girls, that wouldn't. You can't do that anymore. Kids are the ASB kids are involved with the budget, and it's just, you can't do that. There's too much oversight. So that's a bad excuse.
Well, and they're all so well connected, right? I mean, you're for the betterment of all kids, not
exactly
just one group of kids,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I'm a firm believer, always have been, that kids need to play multiple sports. And there's one coach that's at Woodinville that we had run-ins, and I just said, look, I mean, the next time I hear someone tell me that you told them not to play basketball or baseball or to wrestle or whatever, if I hear that again, you're gone. I'll replace you. I said, this is your first and last warning. And your job should be to coach your guys during your season and then to get them involved with other sports and compete in other sports. We didn't have enough athletes at Woodinville to have guys be single sport athletes. They needed to play multiple sports if they were interested in doing that.
I was going to wait. We got a good listener question for the end for you. We got two good ones for the end, but we just had another one come across, and
these aren't guys that know me, are they? That are going to.
One of them is. One of them I played with.
Yeah. Our previous guest of us, and it's something that it hit me. Gosh, dang it! It hit me this lot maybe 2 years ago when the kids were having a conversation, and I had no idea what they were talking about, and I was like, "I'm not that old yet. How am I out of the loop on this?" And CJ, I wonder what the transition is like to go from relatable to the guys when you're younger to more of a mentor, parent type figure to athletes.
Yeah. I mean, it. And I look back and I really. I wasn't ready to quit coaching. I wish I would have coached baseball for another 5 years, but as it was working, as at the time, the way, I didn't feel so bad about getting out because I was going to go and be Kevin's assistant coach because he was coaching in the area then, and so it wasn't going to be that big a deal. I'd be able to get my fix in that way. But, I don't know, because you look at some of these college coaches and even some of the professional coaches. I mean, like Pete Carroll, I mean, God, he's a lot older than I am, And then you look at Mike McDonald, who's like, he could be my son. And you just go, where is this point where you're not relevant anymore, which is kind of how I felt. But I think it has to do, I don't think it's an age thing as much as it is being able to communicate with your guys and the biggest compliment I ever got was from a guy that when I was at CK, he student taught for me, and we went back over with our football team when we had Marcus in that crew. We were really good, and we went over to play Bobby's team at Olympic High School in a jamboree early in the year and just absolutely smoked them. I mean, it was embarrassing that we beat them so badly. And over there where Bobby was, that's kind of it's more blue collar. A lot of guys work on the naval base and a lot of military. And he comes up to me after the game, and Woodinville always had the reputation of being the rich area where all the rich guys live. And he goes, "How do you get those rich white guys to play so damn hard?" And that's just what we expected of them. And it wasn't, we didn't pull reins back on them. We made them play hard all the time. And I think it's more the message. It's not so much your age or who you are as a coach. I think it's whether you still have the energy to do it and whether your message is they buy into it. And if they don't buy into it, it's obvious time to move on.
And you said it earlier too. I can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but just creating the relationship with the guys, and that's just the most common theme that we've heard. And we're season 5 or 6 now of all the successful guys, right? And it's just, I hope people are listening or picking up on that because it's so true. And I think that's how, we go back to the conversation about being out of the building. That's my biggest try. Is if I might not be there every single day, but I'm trying to find a way. It's part of the reason I always go to their basketball games and their football games.
Exactly. Go up there and have lunch with them once a week, be there during lunchtime. But yeah. And again, Kelly he can attest to this. It's not like I was their best friend and everybody thought I was the nicest guy in the world, but I think everybody understood where I was coming from and what I expected of them. And they did it. So,
and I think that allows for guys to be able to be like, to hold people accountable and to have the comment like that kid said to you, because if you're just a screamer and yeller and don't care about them, they're just going to tell you to fly a kite.
Yeah. And I agree with that.
Yeah. You want to develop that sense of respect, right? I mean, that's the other issue too. Some coaches are more into the buddy system. They want those guys to be their buddy. It's like, especially when you're a young coach, I get it. It's difficult, but at the end of the day, you're not there looking for friends. You're teaching these men how to live lives. You're a teacher. And that's the thing is I think coaches miscue that, and they can kind of twist coaching into a wrongful occupation, but really there's a truly a big blessing in coaching. And that's the thing is being relevant. I think no matter if you're 21 to 80 years old, if you, like you're saying, Coach, is that if you have good content, I mean, kids are going to be all in. You're going to have every single eye and ear straight on you.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I mean, that's one of the issues I have with coaches today, and there's nothing wrong with being positive, but from my point of view, there's nothing wrong with getting after a kid when they're not doing what you want them to do. I mean, if you think it's hard playing baseball or you think it's hard playing football, wait till you have 2 kids, 3 kids, and you got a job and you can't stand your boss because he's on you all the. I mean, this is easy compared to what you're going into, and if you can't deal with this, then maybe it's time to reevaluate you as a person and not keep blaming those people that are out there.
It's one thing we've seen die a little bit. I mean, I just remember yes, there was a fear factor in the coach of Woodinville High School when I played there.
Thank you. I succeeded.
But it was a level of discipline too, right? We got a cat appearance.
Hey, he's back.
Mr. Banks.
His weekly appearance of Kelly's cat. There we go.
Whether it was cleats, whether it was shaving, whether it was there was rules, there was expectations, there was things that were there. I remember, I'm not going to name names. I remember you sent a kid home and told him to go shave before he came back to practice. I think there was even a was there a jock strap or a cup story too of walking down to play against sports?
Yeah. That was Zach Toohey. I got all kinds of Zach Toohey stories, but this was a good one because and again, you can't do this anymore because it's physical abuse if you do it. But I used to line everybody up and we'd do cup checks, and I go along with a fungal bat, and you do that now, you're going to get sued. But back then, you could still get around that. And Zach never wore a cup, never. And he says, "I'm in the outfield, coach. I don't need one." I said, "Yeah, but you pitch too." And so it was like the third time, and he didn't do it, and he kind of jumps out of the way and he's laughing and making a big deal. And I said, "Okay, Zach, you've got 35 minutes to run downtown to play it against sports and buy a cup and get back to practice. And if you're not back here with the cup, you're not playing." Oh. Shit, he sprinted out, climbed over the fence in center field, and was gone. So.
Oh man. Oh
yeah, it's just the expectations, right? And I think it made us think higher of ourselves too as players. Yeah. When if you go through these rules and these discipline, like you get into a game situation and things aren't as hard, right? I mean, you practice harder, you do things that are game like and all those things. And the little things, being a part of a program, and we talked about it a lot tonight about whether that's Legion or high school or the that level of respect for that, like having pride within your program and pride with falling in line with everyone else and doing the same things as everyone else. That's 6 a.m. workouts. It's, wearing the same blue shoes, all those things. Once it gets to game time, like you're going to compete together. There was never much individualism there. And I think if there was, it was weeded out pretty quick in my memory.
Well, and we put a lot of, I put a lot of pressure on them to, you need to, this year's team needs to live up to what all the teams before you have done. And, they felt very strongly. I mean, if they didn't win a Kinko championship sometime during their 3 years at Woodinville, I mean, they felt really bad. Like they'd let all those teams down beforehand, because we talked about that. Just, it's not just you. It's the tradition that goes on here. And, we let our upperclassmen, they were like assistant coaches, and they worked with the younger players to try to get them to make sure they were doing the right things. But again, it's just that whole atmosphere and that whole attitude about, everybody joins together to the greater good. So
I think you kind of just answered it, but with your football your football program as well, and baseball, what do you think was the most successful traits from your teams that were the most successful? Maybe they weren't championship teams, but the most successful teams that you had. What were some of the traits that those particular seasons had?
Well, I would like to think that it was that when teams got done playing us, they knew that they'd been in a battle. I mean, our guys in football, they played really hard. And in baseball, they did the same thing. We played hard. We weren't going to hopefully make mistakes that would cost us. And, it was, we give up ourselves when we needed to for the betterment of the team, and just playing hard. And I remember JT D'Amico, when he was up at Eastlake High School, they always had good teams. They didn't win a lot of Kinko titles, but they were always in the playoffs. They were always creating problems from people. And when he left Eastlake, and he's now in the softball world, and we had our issues because he was kind of a mouthy guy and stuff, and had to threaten his life one game. But that's another story. But yeah, I told him, JT, every year we tell our kids, to win a Kinko championship, it's going to go through Eastlake High School one way or somewhere along the line. It's going to go through there. And he goes, "Well, it's funny that you said that, because we never really won any Kinko things." He says, but I always told our kids the same thing. If we want to go anywhere, we got to beat Woodinville. And, there were a lot of other good teams in our league, but it was that kind of thing. We wanted people to know that they'd been in a battle when they played us.
Should we bring on that other listener question? The coach, the feed's blowing up on behind the scenes of people asking questions.
Record. It's a record.
Yeah, actually, it really is. It's awesome. This is actually, thank you, listeners, for asking questions. And this is a good question that I want to bring on. I believe you've coached against him, but Derek Bingham, what's one way your style of philosophy changed from year one until the end of your coaching career? Bonus question, other than the obvious answer of Kelly Gow, who was your favorite player to coach?
I was not the favorite. I was far from.
I think Kelly planted that question through. No.
Actually, Kelly Gow's sister was one of my favorite athletes at Woodinville.
She was a stud.
Did Derek
She's a
Bingham
favorite in
really-
the family too. Like just add it to her rap sheet. Yeah.
So did Derek Bingham really ask that question?
He really did. Yeah.
There he is.
Can you repeat it? I lost track.
What's the one way
When you
your
started
style?
saying it was Derek, I lost track what I was thinking.
What's one way that your style of philosophy changed from year one until the end of your coaching career?
Well, I'm not sure. Well, I think I calmed down a little bit when I first started coaching. I was a little bit more of a yeller and a screamer than I probably should have been. And I honestly kind of got. One of the things I learned from Coach Albo is that when you go to coach, you need to be who you are, not a coach that you played for somewhere down the line. And I always perceived Coach Albo as being he was kind of not a yeller, but I mean he was a lot more vocal than I was, and I tried to be a little more like him, and that really. What I was doing when I first started was counterproductive in a lot of ways. I mean, I went overboard. And so I think I didn't ever lose my desire to be the best that we could be and to play hard and to hold kids accountable. But I made sure that I always went out there and I was who Terry Agnew was and not who Bob Albo was or who Bob Levitin or Jim Harriman. I mean, I took a lot from them, but I needed to be myself. And I think that's probably the best advice I could ever give a young coach is to be yourself and not try to be somebody else.
That's awesome. He just chimed in with another one. If there's time for another question, I'm curious how you felt coaching other sports. Football made you a better baseball coach.
In all honesty, I think coaching football made me not as good a baseball coach as I should have been. And the reason for that is I had so many assistants that I had delegated a lot of things to do that I kind of got away from being a real hands-on involved with I coached the quarterbacks and the running backs, and you have a handful of those guys. I mean, there were linemen that came through our program that I really probably never had much of a meaningful conversation, just one-on-one, because I never dealt with them. They were with another guy. And I think that it took me a while to realize that. And I kind of lost my way a little bit as far as being a hands-on baseball coach during the early parts of my football career. And I think I kind of rallied and got away from that. But I think that hindered me a little bit. But again, you got to be involved with your guys. You can have great assistant coaches, and my football coaches and my baseball coaches were great coaches and my best friends. And but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't have gone and talked to the quick guard once in a while to make sure that life was good with him, and talk to somebody else that I didn't coach every day to make sure life was good with him. So that's probably how I would answer that question.
That's awesome. Oh gosh, we're rolling on this one. And we also want to get into some stories here in a second too, but I'm sure you got plenty more stories to tell us. But one of your players, Carpenter. Coach, it's Carp. You are a star. It's great seeing you. Not sure how that fungo I took Okay. I'm not sure how that fungo I took out from under your weight with the hook slide in practice wasn't your favorite.
Yeah. I can't believe, Carp, you could actually do a hook slide.
Big boy.
So, yeah, I don't know. Fungos are fungos. I used to tell the kids that they, they'd always give us, Dillman and I, or my other coaches. Steve Johnson was another one of my coaches who's been if you're a basketball fan, he coaches up at Jackson High School now, and his basketball teams are always at the state tournament. He runs real deep with them every year. And he coached with me for a number of years, and we'd always give those guys a hard time. They say, well, we can hit fungos better than you, because you give fungos to the pitchers who go out there and hit to the infield, and it's like a waste of time. And the joke was that we could hit a gnat at 90 feet from home plate with our fungo. So that's the way we tried to stay away from them.
Good times. Plenty of good stories. My favorite story, I think, hosting the Kinko tournament. I'm not going to name players. I don't know if it's embarrassing or not. We're hosting the Kinko tournament. I think Inglemore and Bothell are playing or something like that. And pitchers warming up in the bullpen, and we got the bigger bullpen, right? The visitor bullpen wasn't really used that often. Everyone usually would go behind the first base dugout to the bigger bullpen. One of our players who had looked a little older had come to that game that we weren't playing in, dressed up, looking very professionally. And he stood, and I don't know if you ever heard this, he stood behind the pitcher, that fencing there between the cages and the bullpen, and pretended to be a scout. He had a stopwatch, he had a notepad, he had everything there, and was telling this pitcher warming up for a playoff game, different critiques, and hey, throw that one again. I want to see that one again. Show me that pitch. I still never remember how funny that one was, but the things you can get away with.
Who was that? That's
you
good.
Want to take a guess? My era.
I don't know.
There's brothers in my era. One was
one
a
of the
pitcher,
lenses?
one was a two-way. It was a D. Roy.
That's what I was going to say, D. Roy, but it was one of the D. Roys.
Garrett, yeah.
That's good effort.
Got in their heads,
Yeah.
whatever it takes.
Yeah, I remember we were in the. Did we use the indoor batting cages in the back gym when you were there?
Maybe a little bit, not much.
Okay.
The worst rain days, I think I remember going up there. Yeah.
Yeah, we were in there hitting before a game one time because the JV. I don't know why, but we were up there, and Coach Dillman's brother-in-law was up there talking to Alan, and he and I were in the back, and we had the players were out in the front gym, and they were stretching and warming up out there, and then they would come into the back in groups of two to hit in the cages. And for some reason, someone said, "Hey, there's a scout back there watching the hitters," and every group that came back there came through the door, looked over at him, and sprinted to the cages. I mean, everyone. It was just like, and Alan and I started laughing. It's just like, wow, these guys, what's the deal? You think they don't do that all the time? And he goes, I think they think Muggs is a scout or something. And every one of them did that. So I thought that was pretty funny.
That's funny.
I remember, Ducart's year. There was a lot of people around with him.
Yeah.
Still remember him.
Well, see, and that's those guys, they, the summer guys always talk about, you're not going to get recruited by the big time coaches. None of the big programs are going to come and watch you. Well, Curtis was a Woodinville Baseball Club guy. He played with us all along, and he didn't do an early sign. I can't remember why, but he decided not to do it. And we had a day at practice where the head coach from the University of Virginia and the recruiting coordinator from Georgia Tech, both of those schools had been in the final. They'd gone to the College World Series the year before. They were sitting at our field watching Curtis because he was the only real guy in the state of Washington that hadn't signed anywhere yet, and they came to our practice. So I use that all the time, telling kids and parents, hey, it's not where you play. You know, if you can play, they're going to come and watch you because that's what they get paid to do, to find good players. So if you can play, they will find you.
We got another special question coming in, and it's going to be a video question on this one. And you're pretty familiar with the guy. He's muted, no camera.
Can't see very well, but oh, there he is.
There's Kevin Agnew.
No.
Was I supposed to bring a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Remember when I told you about
Bringing
the
answers.
guys who used to get in trouble at school and I had to go talk to them because their teachers couldn't control them? There's one right there.
Yeah. My sophomore year, Coach Johnson was my English teacher. And, you know, kids get notes sent to go see the principal and stuff like that. My dad had stolen a pad of notes and would just send them straight to Coach Johnson. And the TA would come in, hand him the note, and Coach Jay would always just turn and look at me and start laughing and go, "What did you do now?" And I'd have to go down to the locker room, and yeah, that happened more than once. Yeah.
I do believe Kevin did have a story that had to be told. What was the story about a fungo and some cars?
Oh God! They could probably still come back and get me for that.
Patience is over. Yeah, I had heard through the grapevine that a bunch of kids from Inglemore or something were driving down the outfield road at Woodinville, and you hit a ball that got their car 450 feet away.
It was a little shorter than that. I was out behind second base, so it was probably more like 250. But yeah, that was pretty good. That was a good shot. Got a
short par four. Yeah.
Oh, and then
there was another one that was even worse than that, though. I should have never done that. I would have had to fire myself if I were the AD then. But the hot air balloons used to come through the valley, and they'd go over the baseball field all the time, and there was this one balloon, and it was really low. It was only about as high as the lights, and it was going over the field, and there was a lady and two guys in it, and the lady goes, "Oh, hit us a ball," and the guys go, "Coach, go ahead, hit him a fly ball, hit him a fly." And I said, no, hit him a fly ball. And they finally talked me into it, and I hit it. And as soon as I hit it, Dillman goes, "Oh shit!" And it went below the balloon, but above the basket, right over their heads. And I'm just going, God, this is going to deflate the balloon, and they're going to crash, and I'm going to go to jail. But it missed them, thank God.
I wasn't there for that one.
Again, one of those things that you can't do that kind of stuff anymore.
Well, and everyone talks about like the fear factor of Coach Agnew and everything like that. There was some of that with us, but a lot of the guys in my class like grew up around him and had gone camping with him, and like, you know, he used to cut our hair when we were younger. He'd shave our heads, and like one year Casey Prizeman came in to get his head buzzed, and the clippers were so bad that it was literally just pulling the hair out of his head. And Casey wouldn't say a word. He just kept his mouth shut. And finally, my mom was like, "Oh my God, stop doing that." Like Carp hook slides coach, and he's leaned up against his fungo and goes all the way down to the ground. And the best part is like Carp feels about as big as the, you know, bug next to him. And all of us are just holding our laughter, just about ready to die laughing to see how he's going to react. And Matt Tuiasosopo one time missed the cutoff guy and drilled coach right in the back.
Oh.
And all of us are laughing, and Matt's just like about ready to jump over the fence and run away like Zach did that one time. I remember one time we played Garfield, and Garfield wasn't very good back then, and I think we beat him like 9-1 or something like that. We should have 10-runned him. And Bobby Carlson was standing in front of me while we were getting the post-game speech. and he had a mosquito on his hat, and I smacked it. And Bobby turned around and goes, "Did you get it?" And we ended up running for the next 45 minutes. We ran more than we played baseball that night. Oh, man. And then I'll leave one last one, and he'll remember this one. Our state trip, the year we went to state, my senior year, we had a coach on staff named Coach Hall. And Coach Hall was awesome. Everybody loved him. We called him Captain Ron.
Captain Ron.
He had this great big, like, old school car, and he had this huge, I remember the trunk of it was enormous because he'd always bring up these like random pitching machines, and one of them was so big we used to call it the barbecue, and it shot the balls like it was a 3-wheeled one, and I mean we got hit by that machine more than anything. And Captain Ron would always be out in his car like fumbling around stuff because he came up from Burien, and we were playing catch on the foul line, and Captain Ron's over there just fumbling around. His pants are like so far down his crack. And we're all just dying. And, you know, like talked about like discipline, and we're supposed to warm up a certain way and all that. And we always did. But Richie Lentz, we're all of us, it was kind of catching our eye. And finally, Richie Lentz, and I think at that point, Coach Dillman and my dad had caught on. And Richie goes, "Hey, Casey, Captain Ron's smiling at you." And the entire team turned around, and there's Captain Ron in the car with his butt hanging. Looked like he was fixing the plumbing. Oh my gosh. And we were just all dying. And that was like, you know, those were the times where my dad would that's where he connected with us, right? Like I think that was one of the things I respected the most about him, was he knew when to push and when to kind of get in with the guys. And, you know, he was funny too, like playing for him. He was funny. Like he was funny and made us laugh, and he would get after us for sure. But we had a lot of good moments as well. I don't have a question though. Sorry.
That's perfect. That's awesome. Kevin, thank you for jumping on tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Did you ask Maggie about my wig I was wearing when we called him today?
Yeah, see, there's the grandpa part of it. He calls the girl today in a wig from the elf costume or whatever. They're all, "What are you doing, Baba?" Players from the 90s probably wouldn't believe that for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We got one more listener question before we wrap this thing up, unless you got any more stories after this one, Coach.
Oh,
But
most of the good stories I can't tell. That's the problem. But,
and,
There's an off-air portion of this episode,
and there's a reason why you go to the clinic in Helensburgh
yeah,
when we're sitting at the tab afterwards and hear those stories. That's right. Let's see. We got Josh Cox, guy from the local town here. How did you find success building up some of the less seasoned players without dumbing down practice for the rest of them?
Well, I think the best way to do that is like I mentioned a little bit earlier. We used our returning players as kind of almost like assistant coaches. And if we had someone that was struggling with something, I mean, like, you know, our younger shortstop, I say, "Kelly, that guy's having trouble turning in double plays. Can you make sure you're paying attention to what he's doing and give him some advice?" And use the older guys to help with the position groups, because they had a much better understanding of what we were trying to get done. And I think that's I don't think you necessarily have to dumb it down. And again, I'm kind of a bad guy to ask on that, because I know a lot of coaches now, they have all their guys practice together, the varsity and the JV, everybody's together, and they kind of, and I wanted to separate and get the varsity guys as much time as I could on the field, and then the JV guys and the C team would come in at a different time. But some of our practice, especially early on, the first 2 weeks, we would have everybody together, and then we would split up. But I think using your players to elevate them instead of trying to dumb things down to their level, I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think you need to try to elevate the lower ones to the level of the higher ones instead of bringing the higher ones down to the lower ones. I think that's a bad approach.
I love that. Well, as we wrap this thing up, do you have any parting comments you have for any of our listeners?
Just, thank you for those coaches that spend the time with the kids. And coaches, whether you're a young coach or an old coach, go to clinics and listen to other coaches talk, because, we may think that we know a lot about what we're doing, but to be honest with you, if you pass on an opportunity to go listen to what somebody else has to say, you're cheating yourself, but you're more cheating your players. And I reference Coach Albo a lot, but he told me a long time ago, he says, you may go to a clinic and you may only learn one new thing at that clinic and that you spend 8 hours at. He says, but you're a better coach because you learned that one thing that you didn't know, or you found a better way to do something that you already do. So you need to go to clinics, like the high school coaches clinic. I think that clinic, I like those types of clinics better than the kind that you go to that have professional people talking and, a lot of the big time college coaches, because they can give you some information as far as teaching skills and things, but they're in a whole different world than we're in. And we don't get an opportunity to coach our guys as much or as long as they do. We're not around them as much as they are. And so to listen to other high school coaches that are fighting the same fight, that we are. I want to go listen to a guy talk about rainy day practices. What do you do? There are many years where I had muddy, crappy fields I had to go out on, and I didn't want to not go outside. I had a hard time just going in the gym and, doing first and thirds and bunt defenses, just to keep them busy and count a practice. And plus, there was Dan Gable. You guys ever heard of Dan Gable? He's like the greatest American wrestler that's ever lived, and he used to have a bunch of clocks on the wall when he was in college. In his dorm room, all these clocks with different times from around the world, and he knew what so and so from Russia or so and so from Ukraine or from wherever. He knew what time it was there, and he'd wake up in the middle of the night and he'd look up and he'd say, "Oh God, it's 3:00 over in Tokyo. I got to get my ass up and work." And he'd get up and do sit-ups and push-ups and do stuff and then go back to bed. But he didn't want someone else to get something on him that he didn't already have. So I thought that was a great story about, being focused and trying to be the best that you can be. So, learning from people and coaches are the biggest, we steal things from other coaches all the time. Nobody has any original thoughts really in this game. It's all stuff that's recycled and coming back. And again, if you can find some things that work for you and allow you to be a better teacher of the game and help your players, you need to go and find that information. And the best way to do that is to go to clinics, and whether you're learning something during the clinic itself or you go to the after dinner functions or after clinic functions and talk in a smaller group and get information there. But I thought that's critical. A coach should go to at least one clinic a year to try to get better.
I absolutely love that. Well, Coach, make sure you stick around when I end the live stream for the after hours conversation with us. But thank you so much for taking a couple time tonight to come on with us. This was a really enjoyable episode to be a part of.
Well, good. Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. Like I say, I was really excited. I didn't feel so bad about getting out of coaching because I knew I could go be Kevin's assistant. And then he goes and moves to the furthest point in the state of Washington. So
it didn't take long to get to that. You have an open invitation.
Yeah.
It's God's country for a reason over here in Eastern Washington.
Well, yeah.
Every state needs an armpit.
Stop it. Awesome. Anyways, well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. And
well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Now entering from the bullpen.
Well, that wraps up part 2 with head coach, Hall of Fame coach, Terry Agnew, who I'm excited to see what you guys had to think about that episode. So go ahead and drop us some messages in our DMs and let us know what you thought about our episode with Coach. I know the storytelling part of this is some of the things I enjoy of all this, of getting to talk to past Hall of Fame coaches, right? And super excited about it. Thank you to all our listeners that were interacting with us live. We really appreciate that. That's our goal. We want more interaction with you guys. We want Q&As in our episodes. We want you guys interacting with us on social media, like, share everything. We just can't thank you guys enough for everybody that's partaking in this community that we're trying to grow here. A lot of stuff to come with this, and we're really excited for there. Check out our next episode coming out with Aaron Vaughn, head coach at Wenatchee Valley Community College. If you want to watch it live, we'll be recording that on December 10th at about 8 p.m. It'll go live on YouTube, or Twitter, and Facebook. But if you haven't seen it, or you missed it live, go ahead and check it out when we drop that here next week in the 2-part episode. Going to be a good one. Pretty excited for that one. So thank you again to all of our sponsors. Thank you to all of our listeners, our loyal listeners. We are excited to be back in your airwaves, and we just appreciate everybody. So go ahead, rate and review if you can. Follow us on our socials, and let's just keep growing this thing and trying to grow our inner circle. Go to allstatebaseball.com. Get registered for the Washington State Baseball Coaches Association coaching clinic. And like I said in the intro, it's a high school clinic, high school coaches speaking, put on by high school coaches, but it's meant for everybody. Let's get a bunch of people to Ellensburg here in February, and let's just talk some baseball and grow it and make everybody a little bit better. So appreciate all of you. Take care. We'll be back next week with Coach Aaron Vaughn from Wenatchee Valley Community College. This episode's brought to you by our great sponsors of the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banner podcast, starting with Max BP, the small ball pitching machine to improve your hand-eye coordination and reaction times while providing an unmatched amount of reps. Max BP has 5 different velocities for fastballs, as well as right-hand and left-hand curveballs. They also have the Pro Machine with additional velocities, right-hand, left-hand curves, sliders, and cutters, as well as a rapid-fire setting for defensive drills. Go check them out at maxbp.com. Also, Safeguard out of the Tri-Cities. Go check them out, as they have provided all of the great gear for the Fungo Banner since day one. Go check out Safeguard. And Top Tier Sports, if you're looking for some summer tournaments still, go check them out all over the Pacific Northwest. I even hear they might even have some basketball tournaments here in Ellensburg. Go check out DevoBats.com for all your wood bat needs out of the Tri-Cities. And if you need your coaches' fungos, they are the company to go see. And new to the podcast, AstroTurf. AstroTurf's Diamond League Series is now the official synthetic turf of Major League Baseball, trusted to perform at all most elite level of the sport and loved by everyone. Go check them out if you're looking to renovate your facility.